This term, cunning, palutropos, literally means many turns and is a very contentious issue, a very contentious term in antiquity and even in modern scholarship. When Homer uses palutropos in the opening line of the Odyssey, he clarifies the meaning with an explanation of precisely how Odysseus is palutropos. He asks the muse to tell him of the man of twists and turns, the palutropos man, who wandered full many ways after he had sacked the sacred citadel of Troy. Homer uses the term again in Book 10 of the Odyssey, when Circe addresses Odysseus, saying, "The mind in your breast is one not to be beguiled. Surely you are Odysseus, the palutropos." In each of these instances, Homer fleshes out his understanding of the term, and so Socrates turns to Hippias, the self-professed Homeric expert, to do the same. But Hippias's choice to equate palutropos with pseudes, false speaking, while providing an interpretation, surprises Socrates. But such an interpretation was, and in some cases still is, the standard depiction of Odysseus taught in schools. Socrates, of course, takes the other side of the debate. His first contention is that Hippias provides no evidence of Odysseus actually lying. By repeating the two most relevant lines from Hippias's previous citation, "For as hateful to me as the gates of hell is the man who hides one thing in his heart and says another," Socrates makes it absolutely clear what is at stake. In a nutshell, these two lines encompass the moral code which Achilles claims to sanction. It is presumably this moral code that proponents of Homeric education would encourage young men to emulate. Thus, if Achilles is straightforward and truthful, then he himself should be bound by this code. Socrates then cites in quick succession two other passages where Achilles asserts that he is leaving the plains of Troy and returning home with his men. The first of these two passages concerning Achilles' departure appears in Book 1 of the Iliad, where Achilles confronts Agamemnon over Briseis, the girl that is taken from him. And the second occurs a mere 45 lines after his proclamation of his moral code. 8 books and many days stand between Achilles' first and second declaration of departure. However, in all that time, he's never seen turning his words into action. This, Socrates says, is lying. Although Socrates does not make it explicit, these two passages show the reiteration of Achilles' statement that he is going home. Socrates goes on to show that numerous men, among both Achilles' comrades and the army at large, can bear witness to these statements, but never at any time is Achilles seen preparing for his departure. Socrates claims that Achilles lies because his actions do not equate with his words. Whereas Hippias was more concerned with the spoken words, Socrates concentrates on the correspondence between speech and action. This duality continues throughout his speech, but Hippias does not seem to see this added nuance. Although surely his readers, Plato's readers, would have noticed. As Bruce mentioned this morning, the correspondence between thought and action is an important one in Athens. Socrates, unlike Hippias, provides actual concrete evidence of what Achilles says and what he does, or rather, fails to do. This alone should win round 1 for Socrates. However, a further criticism can be leveled against Hippias. For Hippias, concealment is lying. But Homer, by making Achilles say that he hates the man who thinks one thing and says another, leaves the statement unqualified. There is no connotation of lying as such in this particular passage. The distinction that Homer, or Achilles, makes here is either one between concealment and disclosure, or one between what is said and what is meant. In either case, this passage certainly does not prove that Odysseus is a liar. Hippias justifies this lie in response by claiming that Achilles does not purposefully lie, but is instead forced by the misfortune of the Achaeans to remain at Troy. This claim is an oversimplification at best. It does not take account of glory, honor, revenge, all of those things that play a major role in the unfolding narrative of the Iliad. But it is not this with which Socrates takes issue. He contends that Achilles is a cheat and a maker of false pretensions. These are serious charges to be brought against anyone, but especially Achilles. Socrates claims that Achilles is far better than Odysseus at easily making false pretenses and is able to contradict himself without Odysseus noticing. To support these claims, Socrates quotes a portion of Achilles' response to Ajax, in which he agrees to remain at Troy until Hector comes to the ships of the Myrmidons, killing Argives and burning the ships with fire. To crown this argument, Socrates asks, "So Hippias, which of the two? Do you think the son of Thetis, Achilles, was so forgetful that although a little earlier he had said he had insulted charlatans with the most extreme insults, that he himself went straight on to say to Odysseus that he was going to set sail, and to Ajax that he was going to stay? But you don't think that he was acting purposefully and believing that Odysseus was an old fool, and that he himself would defeat him in this precise thing by contriving and lying?" Hippias responds, "No, it doesn't seem so to me, Socrates. Rather, in these things, because of his goodwill, he was convinced to say something different to Ajax than to Odysseus. Whereas whatever Odysseus says truthfully, he always says with a purpose, and whatever he says falsely, he also says with a purpose." So from his own mouth, Hippias has affirmed the constancy of Odysseus alongside the inconstancy of Achilles.